Hello, everybody, and welcome back to Think Tank Sports. Think Tank Sports, where we think and you listen. Check us out on the socials: Facebook, Twitter, and IG. Listen to us on Anchor or wherever you get your podcasts. Or if you really like us that much, and we know there are some of you out there who do, watch us on YouTube. Here we are. We've got our YouTube channel. Hello there, our tens of fans or fives of fans or whoever is watching. We know you're watching. Thank you for watching. Continue watching. We will continue to put out amazing content on YouTube. And so, our amazing content today, this week, NFL Week 10 recap. And of course, I don't do this by myself because nobody would pay attention. Mike, how the heck are you?
David, I'm doing wonderful. The cold, crisp fall air is hit us here in upstate New York, and we're rounding that beautiful corner down the home stretch of the year where it's Thanksgiving, Christmas, New Year. I happen to have a birthday in there. So good times all the way around for us in the future. But in the meantime, Dave, they're playing football in the National Football League where they play for pay.
For pay.
And
dun, dun, dun.
We'll jump right into the Wayback Machine, Dave. Last Thursday, the Falcons and the Panthers went at it, with the Panthers getting what I thought was a surprise win for sure.
Yeah.
25-15. PJ Walker continues his XFL 2.0 run for NFL contract. But what really has come out of the Christian McCaffrey trade for the Panthers is D'Onta Foreman.
Yeah.
Has really exploded in their backfield, and he had 130 yards on 31 carries and a touchdown. And the Falcons just treading water. You know, they're one of those teams. We talked about the Patriots last week being like this. They're going to beat the bad teams and lose to the good teams. And when you have Marcus Mariota as your quarterback, that's just the way it's going to be. The kid's athletic, but not too much in the brains department. When God said brains, he thought he said trains, and he said, "I'll take the caboose." Okay,
so nice
Mariota, Mariota. Struggling a little bit, 19 for 30 for 186 yards, 2 touchdowns and an interception. They just need some more weapons, but really they need more blocking on the offensive line. I mean, Drake London and Kyle Pitts, of course, Cordell Patterson, nice weapons for the Falcons, but they did not get it done.
This was his first game back in a few weeks too.
Right, a little bit of rust.
So a little bit of little bit of rust there, but still not a good effort.
Dave, do you know what Arthur Smith, the head coach of the Falcons, what his claim to fame is outside of the NFL?
I feel like I've heard this before, but I can't put my finger on it.
It's fairly well known. He is the heir apparent to the FedEx franchise fortune. His family started FedEx. So dude doesn't have a lot of pressure off the field as far as money and success driven types of things. But I'm impressed with him as a coach. I don't think he's going to be like a Super Bowl winning coach, but he's definitely going to be, successful. Anyway, I digress. This game really wasn't all that entertaining for as much as I'm talking about it anyway. 25-15.
No.
Panthers. Anything you got on this game?
Nope. It was not a great game to watch. I had it on while we were doing Lose With Us last week, and there wasn't much. It wasn't much to watch, that's for sure. But Foreman was very impressive, and the Carolina running game, 47 carries, 232 yards, and 2 touchdowns. That part was impressive.
Yeah. Just a little bit of news out of the Carolina camp. Walker, the quarterback, is hurt. They're going back to our old friend, Mayfield.
Baker Mayfield.
And so, the quarterback carousel and Sam Darnold will be listed as the backup next week. So keep your eye if you're that desperate on the fantasy wire in fantasy football. There's your quarterback, buddy.
If you're that desperate, you're probably in last place.
Probably. Where you want to go next, buddy?
What about going to Chicago, Mike? And boy, Justin Fields and the Bears look, like, hey, they're going to finally do something. And, they're, putting a couple of good games together here. And they've got a 24-10 lead on a Lions team that just looks like they're laying down for the season and curling up in their little cave and hibernating for the winter. But they play 4 quarters in this game that they call the NFL and football. And Detroit came out and smashed the Bears in the 4th quarter to the tune of 21-6, Mike. And they come back. The Bears get their last touchdown, and they missed the PAT, Mike.
Yeah, tale as old as time. Carlos Santos, not close.
There you go. And the Lions come all the way back. Jared Goff has a pretty nice game, 19 of 26, 236 yards and a touchdown, no interceptions. And the Lions rally. They get a pick 6. They return for a touchdown in this game in the 4th quarter, and 31-30. And the Lions get their first, I think I heard this right, it was their first road win. I think they said they lost 13 in a row on the road, or I
think you're right. 13
something ridiculous, long losing streak on the road. Dan Campbell sounded happy, so that's a good thing, because when he's not happy, we hear things about, what did you say, like the 3 fingers and the
3 fingers and 1 ass cheek? Yes,
1 ass cheek. So hopefully, we didn't get that out of him. So that's good. And geez, with the Bears, they score 30 points. Now, this was a team that they couldn't get out of their own way 6 weeks ago. And, now they're finding the way to score, but their defense is not very good, Mike.
No, not at all. And Detroit, we should pay particular attention to, Dave, because they play my Giants next week and your Bills the week after that on Thursday.
Yeah.
On Thanksgiving.
Yes. Turkey Day.
Would it surprise you, Dave, if I told you that the team that's led the NFL in total offense in the last 4 weeks is the Detroit Lions? Would that be shocking?
No, wouldn't surprise me.
They put up points.
They were number 1 at one point, number 1 in offense and number 32 in defense. So,
right,
not surprising at all, Mike. The Bears, 35 carries, 258 yards. That is 7.4 yards per carry.
That's incredible. And Justin Fields he looked faster than everybody. I haven't seen somebody like that at quarterback since Mike Vick, was barking his way down the field.
Dinking and dunking his way down the field.
Yeah, gotta throw that out there.
Gotta get those dogs out of the way, though.
Hey, don't get mad at me. He did it.
I'm just saying, get the dogs out of there.
No. So Justin Fields, we did the exercise 2 weeks ago, the 2021 draft class, and who was the best quarterback drafted. Justin Fields is rapidly becoming, the guy from that class and becoming the guy for the Bears. They figured out how to run the RPOs with him, how to get him out of the pocket. But what he did great in this game, Dave, is he stayed in the pocket until he had to leave. Early in the year, the moment he sensed any trouble, he'd leave the pocket, and that's when they, made bad plays. He's hanging in there a little bit, and they're starting to develop a nice rhythm. And Cole Kmet had a tremendous day, hooking up with Fields, and they get the 1-point win. Kmet 2 touchdowns on just 4 catches for 74 yards, but really had a great game. So
there's some things to be happy about in Chicago. I mean, not losing to the Lions, but they are showing some spunk and ability to play well, and that's something that the Bears have not done a lot of lately.
No, not at all. older earlier in the day, David, Old Bones did not travel. Well, actually, they did travel
They
to
did travel.
Germany,
Yeah.
and the Tampa Bay Bucks got a 21-16 win over the Seahawks. I've seen a lot of complaining and consternation online from Sea Chicken fans that the field was in terrible shape, and traveling to Germany was that much harder, more difficult than London, and just a lot of unhappy Sea Chicken fans and even some of the players. Um, but Tom Brady, undefeated since he's been divorced, Dave. You know, can't ignore that 2-0, 2-0
Oh,
on
you
the divorce
totally can
tip.
ignore it. It's a completely meaningless stat. As far as that goes, they did have some videos though, of the field conditions. There was
Isn't that great?
mention of the change to the longer metal spikes, to try to give, and that happened during the game, that players did that, to give them better footing. So,
Remember, we talked about that last week. Teams having to travel and everything they have to take over there,
yeah,
including the longer spikes.
yeah.
So,
So
maybe the Bucks made an earlier adjustment than the Sea Chickens did. But gotta give a lot of credit to Devin White, Dave.
yeah,
Travels all the way to Germany and finds out 2 hours before the game that his father passed away, and he came out and just played, a tremendous football game. I was going to say the game of his life, but when they won the Super Bowl a few years ago, that was the game of his life, and he should have
right,
been the
right.
MVP of that game. But just all the credit in the world for him to even, be on the field after losing his father. I mean, what are you going to do? You're in Germany, not playing
Yeah,
wouldn't have solved anything, but still, you know, we forget about the human side. We talk about these guys often in terms of their stats and numbers and the commodities that they are,
hmm,
which is fair, but there's also, a human side in it. And so I give him a lot of credit there. Anything else on the European matchup?
no, I don't think so. Well, the only thing that I just continues to be a head scratcher for me is these coaches going for 2 point conversions at the strangest of spots. I mean,
Yeah,
it's 21-9, and Pete Carroll decides to go for two, which makes no sense. There's like 8.5 minutes left or something like that. Like, just kick the extra point. I mean, and so they go for it. Of course, they don't get it.
mhm.
It just continues to be a head scratcher to me. Like, they've made these decisions before they even get out on the field, and you can't,
Yeah. There's a whole chart they have.
right,
Yeah.
you can't play football like that. But apparently you can. And uh well,
Well, it's
that's how you lose games.
right, and that's my problem with the modern NFL coach. They're coaching not to lose; they're not coaching to win. And with all the analytics and the card, like I said, telling you when to go over two, the card doesn't know if your team's tired, if they've been on the field for a long time, if you got some guys injured and need to catch a break. All those things are not factored in to the
No.
analytics. And so you need a bold head coach that's willing to make the right decisions, not necessarily the analytical decisions. So
Yep.
that's my little it was better back in my day speech. So get off my porch, you young kids.
And get off my lawn too.
That's right. Where you want to go next, my friend? How about
Oh, can we go to the big Roomba?
can we?
Yeah, we can go to the big Roomba where
Sure.
it was Sunday, but all the Colts fans were happy that it was Saturday. And Jeff
Yeah.
Saturday makes his coaching debut out
Dave
there in
Rutch.
the big Roomba, Mike. And right out of the gate, I mean, he says, "No, Matt Ryan, you're the starter." He puts Matt Ryan in. What does Matt Ryan do, Mike? 21 of 28, 222 yards, a touchdown, no interceptions, 4 runs for 38 yards with the touchdown. Uh, Jonathan Taylor was back. The line blocked well.
Right.
That this kind of looked like the Colts team that maybe a lot of people thought, was going to play well the whole year. And I'm not convinced that they're going to continue to do that. But for one game, like this Colts team looked every bit the part of a playoff team.
Yeah, I agree. And if they continue to play that style, they will give some teams some fits down the stretch here. The Colts had fallen in love with, trying to be dynamic and pass the ball. And, we've got Matt Ryan. Well, that's not the Matt Ryan that went to BC and took Atlanta, to the Super Bowl and all of that. This is old, broken down, end of career Matt Ryan. So if you can run the ball, play action pass, he's, like you say, he threw the ball 28 times. That's fine.
Sure.
222 yards. If you can get that out of Matt Ryan and that offensive line and running game, they are going to be dangerous. On the other side, the Vegas Raiders, Dave. What? I don't know if you caught Derek Carr's press conference, but he was
yes,
super emotional and calling out teammates, saying, talking about what they have to do to just to get on the field to practice and to sleep at night. And then he says, and not everyone in that locker room, is on that same page.
Yeah.
So basically saying not everyone in there is committed to be the best football player they could be.
This is exactly what you want from your quarterback and his coach who's in his first year. No, this is not what you want at all. But Derek Carr is obviously fed up. And sure, why wouldn't you be? 24 rushing attempts for 77 yards. That's 3.2 yards per carry. Josh Jacobs is a very, very good running back. But they couldn't get the ball going on the ground. 10 penalties for 74 yards. Mike, this team is just that they're 2-7. The Raiders.
And then it's like a miracle they won the 2. It's bad.
I mean, they're just not a good team right now.
Is it possible that Josh McDaniels just isn't a good head coach? Fine coordinator.
Oh, I think it's coach. I mean, I think his comments in the presser were interesting, where he said, you don't have like 5 years to make changes, and there's not that much, forgiveness
NFL.
in the NFL, and that's not going to happen, and he said, but, you want to make changes, but you want them to happen a little bit faster than they are right now. I think he's just lost, honestly. I mean, he didn't take on a great Raiders team, but a Raiders team that had made the playoffs. They have talent. They got Davante Adams,
right?
And Davante Adams, after a couple of off weeks is producing, but they're just overall just not good enough to beat teams.
No, not at all. And so you have the coaching model on the Colts side, where they bring in Saturday, and he's basically the figurehead manager of the entire organization. You got Gus Bradley, Reggie Wayne. They have some old Colts in the coaching staff that know what they're doing. And so it's just a contrast in certainly organizational styles that, the Colts prevailed here. So, what about the Chefs? Who did they play? I just saw it. Oh, and the Jaguars. Patrick Mahomes just comes out and just has a Patrick Mahomes type day, 26 for 35, 331 yards, 4 touchdowns, 1 interception. And the Chiefs, are you surprised that the Chiefs are playing this high of a level on offense without Tyreek Hill? I guess that's the question I want to ask you.
Yeah. I mean, I think
it's surprising.
I think a little bit. I mean, they go and get, Juju Smith-Schuster and, Valdez Scantling.
Did you see that hit he took?
Yeah. And these are like second tier, receivers. It's not like your number one. Obviously, they have Travis Kelce, and they're kind of going at that, that he's the number one. And, that seems to be working. They get Kadarius Toney from the Giants, Mike, and I texted you to just see Kadarius Toney get in the end zone. That's got to just be turning the screws a little bit. Can't seem to get out of his own way in New York, but goes to Kansas City, and 4 catches for 57 yards and a touchdown here in this game against the Jaguars.
The touchdown catch was a good catch along the sideline, and he basically 1 foot hopped all the way in
Yeah.
from the 20
Yeah.
because no one was around guarding him.
Yeah.
That's the kind of athleticism and potential that the Giants saw when they drafted him. He just couldn't get on the same page with Dable and the coaching staff, and just wasn't working out in New York. I don't wish him any ill will, but it would be nice to have some kind of speed type weapon on the Giants receiving core. But we'll get to that.
Yeah, I don't sell out on Darius Slayton. He looked very, very fast, but we'll get to the Giants game for sure.
And Wayndale,
yes,
for sure.
Yeah.
Trevor Lawrence with another just ho-hum for performance. I'm waiting for him to have a game. Even last year, Zach Wilson on his redshirt year, he had some throws and games that, were very impressive. And we said, that's a big boy throw, and, those kind of things. I haven't seen that from Lawrence. So where's the deep ball? Christian Kirk had a nice game for him, 9 catches for 105 yards and 2 touchdowns. But he's not that. The long was 24 for him. They're just not pushing the ball down the field. And obviously they still have issues on defense. And that's a bad combination when you're playing the Chiefs.
Yeah,
so the Chiefs moved to 7-2.
Yeah, and what about the offensive line? I mean, Lawrence got sacked 5 times. That seems to be happening quite a bit. And this is Trevor Lawrence. This is a guy that, at Clemson was able to run the ball and move around and stuff. So what the heck is going on? And the Jaguars with their loss fall to 3-7, 1-4 away from Jacksonville. Not that it matters.
I'm continually astounded that these teams that are starting over and rebuilding don't start from the interior and work out.
Yeah.
They all want to make the big splash on the skill positions. And you need skill positions, don't get me wrong. But if you could get a young quarterback with a very good or even average offensive line, you're going to be way ahead of the game compared to what they're doing here. Like you just said, Trevor Lawrence with all kinds of potential, but no offensive line. He's running for his life. So I feel bad for the kid, but it'll be interesting to keep monitoring that situation in Jacksonville. And the Chiefs just keep rolling on, rolling.
Yeah.
Thank you, Fred Durst. Who do you want to go to next, buddy?
Well, the 425 games that we were like, well, we're not really sure how it's going to go. Green Bay and Dallas put on quite a show. I think was better than what everybody thought it was going to be. Green Bay was able to kind of get their act together, and Christian Watson comes back, and he shows off with the 3 touchdowns, and Aaron Rodgers looks comfortable, and Aaron
Lazard
Jones
made a big play.
Right, Lazard made a big play. Jones was running the ball hard, 24 carries, 138 yards, and a touchdown. Despite all of that, though, they have the fumble, and Dallas turns it into points, and they score. And it was Dallas it went from 14-7 to 28-14 so fast.
Blink of an eye.
And you thought, okay, well, Green Bay put up a fight for a little while, like you see with, these bad teams, they'll fight for a little bit, Mike, but then, they kept trying, they kept making plays, and, again, Watson making the catches, and they end up, getting able to tie the game, and send it into overtime.
Yeah, we see the fracture still between Rodgers and LaFleur on the 4th down play. Rodgers apparently wasn't happy with the play call and let his coach know about it right away. That led to the game tying field goal. That we'll keep an eye on that fracture as well. But the Cowboys struggling on defense, Dave.
Yeah, that was very surprising to see.
Yeah. I mean, Diggs is a nice secondary player, but it's all or nothing with him. Interception or he gets burned.
Yeah.
They don't have the pass rush they've had even earlier in the season, and it's showing up. So Um, Definitely the Cowboys showing their flaws. Mike McCarthy winding up and spiking a headset in the once a year contractually obligated show of emotion that he had on the sideline. Um, and good for my Giants as the Cowgirls take a loss, and in this NFC East, uh, every win is super valuable. So I
Yeah.
was happy to see that outcome. Um, I don't know that the Packers have enough time to turn it around. The NFC is weak enough where if they could sneak in, it's still Aaron Rodgers, the wily veteran, in the playoffs, but they got to play a lot of good football between now and then.
Yeah.
But
Yeah.
definitely an interesting game. And, um, aside from your Bills game, probably the best game of the weekend as
Yeah.
far as how close the game was and all
Mm-hmm.
that. So,
Yeah.
for
So
sure.
one crazy stat from this game, Mike.
Okay.
I heard this earlier. Mad Dog Russo doing his NFL recap.
Hmm.
Going into this game, the Cowboys had never lost a game when they were up by 2 touchdowns in the fourth quarter.
Never in their
190.
history,
Yeah, it may have been at home, but I don't think so. I think
but
it was
that's
just
got to
in
be.
their history.
Okay.
195-0.
Wow.
So when you think about
So they were due.
historically, yeah, they were
Right.
due. Yeah, they were due to blow a 2 touchdown lead in the fourth quarter.
That is crazy.
So yeah, but that just says to you like how crazy that was. Um,
Yeah, for sure. Um, Another game I just want to touch on real quick is the Dolphins continue to roll, Dave.
yeah.
39-17 over the lowly Browns. Is this next week when Deshaun Watson comes back, or
Yes,
do we?
yes, he was
Yes.
cleared for practice today. Yep.
Oh, great. Um, I think the Nerd King might just be the genius we've all been waiting for. When you talk about why is Tua being so successful and this offense being so successful, they're putting every player in a position to win their one-on-one battles. Okay, if you watch the NFL, everything's an option route right now. If the
Yeah.
cornerback does this, you do that, and the quarterback and the wide receiver have to be on the same page.
Mm-hmm.
Otherwise, it doesn't work. When it does work, it's awesome.
Yeah.
The Dolphins don't do a lot of that. This is where you're supposed to be and when you're supposed to be there. And Tua is accurate enough that he knows if he takes a 5-step drop and throws it to up the left hash, Tyreek Hill's going to be there to catch the ball.
Yeah.
At a 20-yard out or whatever the
Mhm.
timing is. And as the season gets longer in the twos and they get more and more reps together, it's even more impressive. So I'll ask you this, Dave: is Tua in the MVP conversation? And if so, where exactly do you think he is?
Yeah, I mean, I think at this point, the Dolphins are 7-3. I think you have to include him in that discussion now. And I think
And they lost.
we talked about this last week, but maybe not. So they play the Texans this week, and then 3 straight road games at San Francisco, at the Chargers, at Buffalo, and then potentially a more game Green Bay team, then New England, then the Jets. I mean, the Dolphins have, outside of the Texans this next week, you could argue the most difficult schedule going down the stretch. So we will see if some of these earlier, wins against the Detroit's, Chicago's, and Cleveland's of the world, if those things have, allow them to build up enough confidence that they can actually win some of these games. So I think you have to include them right now, but the jury is still out in my mind, because he's got to face some of these more difficult games.
I agree. I think you got to put Mahomes and Allen, 1 and 2. and then probably 2 or 3. You know, Jalen Hurts is getting a lot of love. I don't know if I'll buy that quite yet, but yeah, I agree. His name at least has to be mentioned at this point, and that's certainly something I would not have said going into the season. So, worst of luck to Deshaun Watson next week as he continues to, morally bankrupt the entire league.
Yeah.
Titans beat the Broncos 17-10. Russell Hustle, Bustle, and Muscle Wilson, not great.
No.
Titans do their thing, run the ball. Derrick Henry's a stud. Rinse and repeat. There's not much to say there. Steelers get a nice win against the Saints, who continue to be a complete enigma to me, Dave. I can't figure this Saints team out. Every time I'm ready to write them off, they get a big win. Every time I think they're going to compete,
they don't.
They poop the bed. Do you have any? Why are they starting Andy Dalton still if Jameis Winston is healthy? Either Jameis is your future, or the next step from Drew Brees, or not. Their actions are saying he's not.
Yeah, no, I would agree. I mean, he's healthy and he's not playing. So,
yeah,
you read into it what you want, but at 3-7, I mean, how much longer are you going to keep playing Andy Dalton?
I'm afraid Dennis Allen is hooked on phonics and he can't read. So that's the problem here with the Saints.
Yeah.
But we'll see, going forward. Chargers, Niners last night.
Yeah. I mean, the Niners get a kind of workmanlike win, grinding it out with 41 carries for 157 yards and 2 touchdowns. Mike, the Chargers, what are they doing? Again, this is another team that's an enigma to me. They end up here.
They didn't score in the second half.
No, didn't score in the second half. Shut out. They again, Austin Eckler. I mean, they run the ball 16 times for 51 yards.
I mean, why not 25 times?
Yeah, at least 25 times.
Right.
And Eckler gets six carries. I mean, Justin Herbert had 5 carries.
Right. I
mean, that part
the importance of this game to me was that the Niners came out and Garoppolo did not have a good first half, especially accuracy wise, and they overcame that to get a solid win against what's considered a solid football team in the Chargers. So, I mean, he ended up 19 for 28 for 240 yards, but most of those incompletions were in the first half. I'm afraid that Kyle Shanahan's a little too enamored with Christian McCaffrey. His usage rate, we know with all his soft tissue injuries, his usage rate just can't be this high all the time. I know they're trying to get him up to speed and, get everyone on the same page.
Mm-hmm.
For this Niners team to make a little bit of a run here as well, they need to win some football games. They've got the Cardinals next week, which is a team on the decline for sure. The Saints, then the Dolphins, Buccaneers, Sea Chickens. So they got some challenges coming up,
Yeah.
They seem to be the team everyone loves to pick in the NFC, is that team that's going to come out of nowhere. I don't know if that's the case, but it should be interesting to follow down the stretch for sure.
Yeah, I mean, they got Elijah Mitchell back, which was huge. 18 carries, 89 yards. I think I heard at one point they had 8 players that returned from injury in this game, and included Deebo Samuel and who's the other
Trent
guy?
Williams, the tackle, right?
Perhaps no, it was another receiver that I was saying he didn't catch a ball,
Ayuk?
so I guess doesn't. No, it wasn't Ayuk. Juszczyk, the fullback / tight end. So they've been injured, and now got a bunch of their big time players back. So yeah, I would agree with you. Watch out for the 49ers. A couple of easy games, and then a couple of more difficult games for sure. Mike, you want to talk about your Giants?
I do, but we have to mention real quick the quarterback matchup in the Cardinals Rams was not what we signed up for at the start of the season. Colt McCoy versus John Wolford.
Yeah.
Even the XFL wouldn't broadcast that game. But Rams are done. Former champs done for the season. Now they can just play spoiler. Dave, the New
And
York
Cooper
Football
Cup
Giants
got hurt, so he's
Yep.
going to probably be out for, the Rams are done.
The New York Football Giants, here's why this win was so impressive to me. Because they came out in the first half and they were typical Giants after the bye. They were a little bit flat. They were sloppy, getting penalties, crucial third down conversions, missing blocks, missing assignments. They brought in this poor kid as like the seventh lineman on fourth down in the first half, 4th and 1, trying to convert, and he does a false start, and Dable just eats his lunch for about 15 minutes. He got him as soon as he got to the sideline, followed him to the bench, and just chewed his ear off. When they went in for halftime, Dable freaked out about all the mistakes and being flat. And they came out in the second half and handled business, Dave.
Yes,
and
they did.
in the past, they would have just crumbled and been done, lost this game, and said, "Oh well, that happens on a bye week sometimes." Every game is so important in the NFL, and the coaching staff did not allow the Giants to quit on themselves, and that's what has me so excited about this team. Now, when you look at this team, they're playing at their highest potential. They literally have no wide receivers. Kenny Golladay can get the bleep out of New York City and New Jersey.
He comes back, he gets 2 targets, no catches.
Dave, both of them hit him right in the hands. He was wide open. I mean,
hands like feet, Mike.
Robster crawls for hands. I got a frush. What the fuck's a frush?
Go Revenge of the Nerds. Go look it up, folks. It's a good movie.
Nice. Obviously, this team is the Saquon Barkley Revenge Tour. 35 carries for 152 yards and a touchdown. Never really ripped off a long one. There was a couple of them where he was like half a step from just being gone and throwing up the deuces, but still workman-like. And then Darius Slayton, Dave, made one of the best catches and scores I've seen for the Giants in a long time.
Oh, yeah. Just tremendous.
Catches the ball on the sideline, makes one move to the inside. The cornerback totally whiffs on the tackle. And gets downfield, catches a block from a receiver, and gets to the pylon for a touchdown. And that was like, whoa.
He turned on the Jets, and he was running for quite some time on the field. You didn't see anybody else but him.
Right.
It was just tremendous. And I think, again, the Giants certainly struggle at the wide receiver spot, but you see a play like that from Slayton, that's got to motivate some of these other guys to say, look, I can get open too. As far as that goes. And, Daniel Jones, workman, like 13 of 17, 197 yards and 2 touchdowns, no picks. He made some really good decisions, and they've simplified things. And we've talked about this. I mean, they're at a point now where this team knows that they can win. And that's so much. The confidence piece is a huge part for any athlete. And certainly right now, the New York Giants are a confident team and playing well at 7 wins and just 2 losses.
Yeah, no, it's beyond my wildest dreams where we would be to start this season. I got to give Wink Martindale, the defensive coordinator, a lot of credit. Everyone knows he's blitz happy, but you never know where it's coming from. He's very creative with it. And the Giants' open field tackling has improved so much that it's mind-boggling almost. In the past, the team would catch the ball 2-3 yards short of the first down marker, and all they'd have to do is make one move, and maybe they get dragged down 5 yards downfield for a first down. Several plays yesterday, Dave, where Adoree Jackson and Fabino, is that how you pronounce his last name? The cornerback just made
Thibodeau.
great, yeah, um, just great open field tackles and ended drives. Oh, Fabian Moreau, that's who.
Oh, Moreau.
Yeah. Who seems to be the target for every other offense because Adoree Jackson on the one side with Julian Love, and Darnay Holmes, they're doing a tremendous job in coverage. Dexter Lawrence, that big man can move around, dude. He's gotten really prolific at stopping the run up the middle, but also rushing the passer and putting pressure. You can get pressure up the middle in the NFL. That's a tremendous asset. So, all in all, super excited about where this team is.
Yes.
I'm trying to, governor my expectations because we're way ahead of the organization's success clock. We're way ahead of expectations. And we certainly have some weaknesses, like I said, with the skill positions on wide receiver in particular. But still, I love where they are and I love where they're going. And I'm excited to see Brian Daboll get his NFL Coach of the Year award. And what happens the rest of this season. So, any other observations on the New York Football Giants?
There was a play in the fourth quarter where the Texans had gotten a touchdown pass, and you thought, oh, they're getting close, and maybe the Giants are going to cough this up. But then there was a penalty on the Texans that called the touchdown back, and the very next play, they run a very similar pass into the end zone, and the Giants intercept it. And there was two guys right there. I just thought that was just huge. Given the fact that even though there was a penalty on the Texans, they had given up a touchdown. It gets called back
from their mistakes.
Yeah. Right. And the next play, they get the interception. So I just thought that was huge for them. The Texans had moved the ball pretty efficiently on that drive. So thought that was a big moment for them and just an indication of things are different this year for the New York Football Giants.
Yeah, I agree. So from the good, the bad to the ugly, Dave, let's go to the Buffalo Bills. And well, I'll let you talk and I have a couple questions for you.
Yeah, it's such a struggle. They, again, they show that they can run the ball. Singletary comes out, gets a couple of touchdowns. He's moving the ball. They're playing well. The Vikings get close, and and then they drive down and get the touchdown just before the end of the first half to go up 24-10 when Minnesota had gotten close with a field goal. Feeling pretty good. They stop them on the first drive of the second half, and then they get the ball. They have a fairly long, 8 plays, 46 yards. They get down, they get a field goal. It's 27-10, right? Now you would have liked a touchdown there, but still, you're up 17 points in the third quarter.
Right.
Everything is just rolling. And then, the wheels just, I don't know. I don't want to say the wheels came off, but they give up that 81-yard touchdown to Dalvin Cook. Right. It's one of those, it's your classic that's happened so many times. But you have too many guys at the line of scrimmage. They all get blocked. They run out of their lanes, and you've got, Hamlin is the only guy there in the hole, and he just completely whiffs on the tackle, and Dalvin Cook is gone. I think definitely what you saw some of in this game, I'm going to say for the first time this year, despite the fact that the Bills have a very, very deep secondary, you missed Jordan Poyer and Trey White, I think, in this game more than any other, when you saw the number of just terrible play. The Christian Benford pass interference. So he's not even looking, just runs the guy over.
Yeah.
Even though Benford had a nice, really, really nice interception earlier in the game, he's a rookie, so he's going to have his ups and downs, but he's playing, all the time because they're hurt.
They're hurt. Right.
And, Hamlin made some good plays, but some bad plays. And, Benford just, I was texting with one of my friends who's a Bills fan. Is like, he's helping us and killing us at the same time. And so I think that was a real struggle. Then certainly you get, into the fourth quarter, and the Bills, stop the Vikings on the 1-inch line. It's 27-23. And, you're like, okay, and even, my younger son, Josh, was saying, well, what do you do here? What do you run? I said, well, you run a quarterback sneak. I mean, you have to, like, you've got to get some room. And that's exactly what they do. And of course, if you haven't paid attention to this, but Josh Allen, fumbles the ball. The Vikings basically just have to lay on it in the end zone, and get a touchdown, basically by doing nothing, with 41 seconds to go ahead by 3. And then there's just a whole host of things. The Bills, it's 41 seconds. I was like, okay, there's plenty of time. And I had texted a friend like, hey, there's plenty of time.
Plenty of football, right?
They go right down the field and get a field goal. Now there's controversy there because the Gabe Davis catch on the sideline, which I thought was a catch. I thought they were getting a little too much into that's not a catch.
Ball moved, right.
The ball moved, blah, 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 blah. I don't know. Maybe that's a little bit of my Buffalo bias, but I've seen lots of catches. I thought he had it fine. But the Bills smartly, ran right up to the line and snapped the ball before anybody in the replay booth could get. I mean, okay, you can say what you want, but there's so many times I've seen in games where that happens. And even the announcers will say, well, they need to run up and snap the ball before and then they kept showing it over and over.
Yeah, I didn't get that.
And, both of my sons were like, why do they keep showing this? It doesn't matter anymore.
Right.
And so the Bills get the field goal, and then they go to overtime. A little bit back and forth. Well, not really back and forth. The Vikings, with a just over 5-minute drive, get the field goal. The Bills come right back down. Josh Allen has 2, just long, incredible runs to get them there. And then things just kind of come off. And it's, and this is where a lot of people are, ready to jump off a bridge as Bills fans. Calm down, please. But sure. Josh Allen makes, he's made some bad plays in the red zone these last couple of weeks, and he makes another bad one here. Now, I did read today, and I did not notice this, but Isaiah McKenzie went out of bounds on this play, and so that allowed Peterson to then step into where he was because he didn't have to cover McKenzie because he had gone out of bounds.
Be the first to touch.
Right. So,
so Patrick Peterson comes and makes a veteran play.
Right. And makes an interception. Now, Josh Allen, not a great throw. But all that being said, a lot of gloom and doom on the Bills sidelines. I saw a tweet today. Remember last year, folks, that the Kansas City Chiefs were 5-4 after 9 games.
Right.
And the Bills also were good, and then, lost a bunch of games in the middle of the season, and the same kind of stuff happened, and they righted the ship, and got to, close to where they almost got to host the AFC title game. So, but it was a great game. And Mike, you called it very early on that this might be the game of the year. After just 2 drives, you were right on it. And, as we got through it, the announcer's like, yep, there's been a great game. You had an incredible catch by Stefon Diggs, only to be probably outdone by Justin Jefferson's catch. Although what I would say with that catch was I think he was aided by the fact that the defender also had a hand on the ball. and was helping him kind of hold it there. It wasn't like Diggs that just went up all by himself.
Right.
Regardless, still an incredible catch. So you have all these great things. You have big defensive plays, you have big catches, um, you know, twists and turns. I mean, it had everything that you would want in a, game of the year, if you will. Oh, all right, I'm going to take a
Wow.
breath.
Let me ask you this. On the Jefferson catch, I see people today calling it, the best catch of all time,
No,
up there with Odell's catch against Dallas or Tyree helmet catch or Edelman in the Super Bowl against the Falcons. Um, Immaculate reception. Where do you, It was a tremendous catch,
always
but
a
I
tremendous
think
catch, but you
you're
cannot put a regular season catch ahead of a playoff catch. That's
and your
that's
point about the defender helping him, not consciously helping him, obviously he
no,
wouldn't
no,
do
no.
that.
But
In
he had a
fact,
hand on the ball.
right. And he said, was it Lewis after the game? He's like, I just got to knock that ball down.
Yes.
They're both trying to catch the ball.
Yep.
And as a defender, he probably should have just knocked it down.
Yep.
That being said, Justin Jefferson is a problem. I mean,
Yeah.
his catch radius is tremendous. I mean, Cousins does not have to be a world beater for them,
No.
to win with that kind of superstar wide receiver. My problem with the Bills, Dave, is two things. One, I think they play with their food a little bit. You said they went up 27-10 and, they seem to be in firm control of the game, and they were at that point, but they gotta put them away. Everybody, from
Yeah.
bad teams to good teams. And you're comparing them to last year, talking about last year, the Chiefs being 5-4, but the Chiefs have been to the mountaintop,
Yeah.
and this Bills team has not.
Mm-hmm.
Um, as much as I love, McDermott and Josh Allen and those guys, is it possible that they just don't know yet how to win in those situations? How to they're 90% of the way there. And in
Yeah.
today's 2022 NFL, that's a lot. I
Yeah.
mean, the talent, the football level is down across the entire league.
Mm-hmm.
So that 90% looks like 100%. And, Allen ascended. Is it possible that he isn't quite as good as we wanted to say he was going into the year and even starting the year? He still has some to learn. So does McDermott. And the lack of running game, Dave, still is an issue. As I know Singletary is nice and he's proven to be tough, but he's just 5% worse than the best running backs in the league. I hate to use the word worse because he's not worse, but you know what I mean.
Yeah.
He's not Dalvin Cook. He's not Kamara. He's not
No.
whoever else you want to put in there,
Right.
McCaffrey.
Right. Right. And I think that's all fair. The Bills do not have that dominant A1A running back. But let's not. So you say what you want, but the Bills ran the ball 27 times for 175 yards and 2 touchdowns. That's better than the
That's
Vikings
okay.
were.
Yep.
And the Bills, again, we've talked about this, the only team all year that's run for 100 yards in every game this season.
Mm-hmm.
I think what it is when they're getting the running. And so when they need to, kind of be able to run some clock,
That's right.
what the Bills have done in games that they have won. And I've certainly watched most of the games, is they are running the play clock down to 2 seconds, 1 second, and then throwing the ball. And so they're using the passing game
Right.
to be the running game. And, that for most of the time that is going to be fine. But
That's okay.
right. They just, when it comes right down to it and they need to put the hammer down, and you can make an argument that the running game is where that needs to happen. That's where the Bills are not doing that. Is that going to be a detriment? We'll wait and see. The other thing you said about Josh Allen, I think he's got all the tools. I think
Oh,
in
absolutely.
this game, my thinking was everybody was like up against him this week. Like, oh, he's not going to
Mm.
play. He's hurt, this and that. And I think he was out there at times trying to prove himself too much.
Right.
He has nothing to prove from my perspective. I mean, he's got to win the big playoff games, and he's won some. He's got to get to a Super Bowl. He's got to do that. But as far as a regular season game here,
Mhm.
he just doesn't need to do some of the things that he's doing, and forcing some bad throws. And I, in this game in particular, I thought that was some of it. But he's shown over his career that he's learned, and he will continue to learn and continue to grow, um, as far as this goes. But this is a hard loss. But the Bills have everything else in front of them. You know, they
Yes.
still have the Dolphins at home. They still have the Jets at home, 2 games with the Patriots, you know, some winnable games potentially, Browns, Lions, Bears, uh, you know, outside of some of the other games they have left. So, they have everything in front of them. I think
Sure.
you know, it's just difficult when you have a 17-point lead and choke it away at home, which they had not done since 1968.
Oh, really? Wow.
Yes, that they had
That's a
not
long
lost
time.
a game, being up again. I think it was by 2 touchdowns, uh, after 3 quarters. Well, that's a lot like the Dallas one. There was, but it was a
Point
ridiculous
taken. It's
number.
been
Right,
a
right,
long
right.
time.
They
Right.
hadn't lost a lead like that at home since 1968. So, yeah.
I think you're right. And we're nitpicking here, but when you're trying to win a Super Bowl, we have to nitpick,
Oh,
especially
absolutely.
when you look at a Chiefs team that's been there and done it, and looks like they're poised to make another run. And this Dolphins team in your own division that I think is a juggernaut, in the AFC. Uh, you know, they need to clean these things up. And I think Josh Allen needs to be honest with himself and the training staff and coaching staff about how healthy that elbow is. I was watching to see, and he did grab it a couple of times, but not consistently. And he certainly had plenty of zip on the ball and making all the throws,
Oh, yeah,
um,
yeah. He made
for
all the
sure.
throws. Mhm.
But going into the playoffs, you want him at 110%. So it'll be interesting to see if they can wrap up this division and playoff spot and get him some rest down the stretch. I know it's a little early to be talking about that, but um, it certainly could be a factor in their long-term success. So I think that they're still, when you talk Super Bowl contenders, um, they're right up there. In fact, I have a nice little stat package here about every team's Super Bowl odds, Dave.
All right.
So this is according to 538, who became famous for their prediction of the presidential election that Trump won. And they're the only ones that was really predicting it. So they're good with stats is the point. Um, the team favored to make the Super Bowl with the best odds is, any guess, David?
As of right now,
As of right now, as we sit here on Monday, the 14th of November at 8:30 p.m., recording this here very podcast.
yeah, I would guess it's either the Eagles or the Chiefs.
The Eagles have an 18% chance to make the Super Bowl, and the Buffalo Bills also at 18%.
Hmm.
So, I mean, this is factoring in opponent, its schedule, everything,
Yeah.
injuries, all that.
Yep.
The Chiefs are third at 17.
Okay.
Any guess who's fourth?
The New York Football Giants.
No.
San Francisco 49ers.
Nope.
Oh, it's got to be the Vikings.
Nope. The guys with the stars on their helmet.
The Cowboys, really?
It must be schedule driven. They have 11% chance to make the Super Bowl. Vikings are next at 7. Then the Ravens,
They have to.
Titans. The Niners are only a 3% chance to make the Super Bowl, along with the Dolphins at 3%.
Wow. I mean, Dallas. That look, they have to go to Minnesota this week. Then they play the Giants. Then the Colts, Texans, Jacksonville. Okay, fine. But then the Eagles, the Titans, and the Commanders. That's not a
cakewalk.
That's not an easy schedule. I mean, there's some lighter games, but yeah, I don't see that.
My Giants are 14th with a 0.9% chance to make the Super Bowl. This, Dave, will lead us into America's favorite segment, Get Out of Here.
Oh, yeah.
There's 10 teams with a 0.1% or lower to make the Super Bowl. I'll just list them for you. Tell me if any of them are surprising. The Commanders, the Packers, the Bears, the Jaguars, the Raiders, the Lions, the Colts, the Steelers, the Panthers, and the Houston Texans. So those 10 teams, 538.com is saying literally are playing the string out. I think that's quite interesting. Now, we have 3 teams, Dave, on the Get Out of Here plaque already.
Yes.
If I'm not mistaken. The Panthers, the Texans, and who was the third team?
The Detroit Lions.
The Detroit Lions. So, get your golden throat ready, buddy, for some Get Out of Here nominations.
All right, let's do it.
Pittsburgh Steelers at 3-6, 3 games out of the division lead. I guess I'll throw the Cleveland Browns in there with the same record.
I'm gonna give the Browns a pass just because we know that Deshaun Watson is gonna come back. Yeah, and if he does play well, he's definitely in the top half of quarterbacks in the league. The Steelers, though, I don't see them going anywhere. Oh boy.
2-2 at home, 1-4 on the road.
1-5 in the conference, and that's what really hurts. There is they're not going to win any tiebreakers, which means they need to have a better record, which means that's not going to happen. So guess what, Pittsburgh, get out of here.
Yeah, get out of here. I like it. Houston Texans, we already know, right?
Yep.
The Jaguars, 3-7, 3.5 out of the division lead. They are currently, interesting, 11 points on the positive for point differential.
Yes, I saw that.
2-3 at home, 1-4 on the road, 3-4 in the conference.
No, their schedule, they play Baltimore,
no,
Detroit, the Titans, the Cowboys, the Jets, the Texans, and then the Titans again. I'm sorry, no, that's just not happened. Jacksonville, we know the hope is coming up a little bit more, but this season it's getting squashed right here on Think Tank Sports, where I'm saying, get out of here.
All right. Let's go to the big Roomba. The Las Vegas Raiders, 2-7, take 5 games out of the division. Negative 23 points on their point differential, 0-5 on the road.
No, they're terrible.
Bad.
The Raiders, just nothing going on there. Las Vegas, what happens in Vegas stays in Vegas, and you need to stay in Vegas. Get out of here, Raiders.
Very good. I think over to the NFC East, everybody's still, I'm not ready to nominate the Commanders, depending on what happens tonight, I guess, in the Monday Night Football. The Bears, 3-7.
Boy, I like the way Fields is playing, but they're 1-6 in the conference, Mike.
Yeah.
And that just that just makes it so difficult to come back. They play Atlanta, the Jets, Green Bay, the Eagles, Buffalo, Detroit, and Chicago. Sorry, there's just too many difficult games in there for the Bears. Some hope springs eternal, but for this season, it's squashed like a
Mm,
grape. Get out of here, Bears.
nice. Down to the land of voodoo, the New Orleans Saints all of a sudden are 3-7, but they're only 2 games out of the NFC South. Uh, they are 1-3 on the road, 2-4 in conference, 1-2 in the division. You've eliminated the Panthers with the same record of 3-7. New Orleans Saints. What say you, Dave?
Well, they have the Rams, the Niners, Tampa Bay, Atlanta, Cleveland, the Eagles, and then Carolina. They're just not very good. But all that said, they're only 2 games back in the division. So I think I've got
to hang on a little
I've
bit.
got to hang on. I mean, the Panthers, changed coaches and have shown a little spunk. The Saints, I'm going to give them another week.
Okay. And then lastly, David, the Super Bowl champion Los Angeles Rams, 3-6, 2.5 games out in their division. They have a negative point differential of 52. They are 3-5 in conference. What say you about the Los Angeles Rams?
I mean, they've only scored 148 points, Mike.
That's not a lot.
And now with Cooper Kupp getting hurt, the New Orleans, Kansas City, Seattle, the Raiders, Green Bay, Denver, the Chargers, and Seattle. There are a ton of very, very difficult games in there for the Rams. And I think the Super Bowl champs are going to have to take a seat on the sidelines and get out of here, Rams.
Wow. So we really filled up that get out of here plaque for 2022. I think rightfully so. I'm with you with all of them. I probably would have hammered the Saints too, but you have a kinder streak than I do here at Think Tank Sports. So, Dave, unless there's anything else with the NFL, you want to move over to the second most popular sport in the country, or what do you want to do here?
I mean, we can talk a little college football.
Yeah, it wasn't a lot of movement or anything.
No, I think
Crazy,
so.
right?
But first and foremost, let's bring it back. Unfortunately, with some sad news, these 3 University of Virginia football players that were shot and killed late last night on a bus in a parking garage on the University of Virginia campus coming back from a field trip. 3 current players and 2 others injured and shot by a former University of Virginia football player. Campus was on lockdown for 13 hours until they were able to corral him and get him. Just very, very sad day for everyone, and certainly for the University of Virginia, and our thoughts and prayers go out to them. Just devastating news. They had a basketball game tonight that they canceled. There was no classes on campus today. Just devastating. And you just hate to see stuff like this. And it's very fresh. We don't know all the details. But if you heard the Virginia president speak, I mean, he was shaken. As well he should be. Right. Yeah, just very, very difficult news for the Virginia campus, and another shooting on a campus, which it's just,
when's it going to end?
Yeah, it seems like it's never going to end. But I thought it was important that we mention that, we are thinking about those folks in Virginia, and hoping that they're surrounded by people that care about them and that they can get through this difficult time. It'll be interesting to see if they play their game this week. But more on that to come. It is just Monday.
So on the more mundane, unimportant things like actual football games with the
Yes.
NCAA, probably the biggest upset was University of Washington and
Yeah.
Michael Penix Jr. Beating Oregon 37-34. The Quack Attack was not back in this game.
No, they were
And
not.
so the Pac 12 picture is becoming clearer. Now you're really down to USC and UCLA.
But
Um,
UCLA got beat this by Arizona.
exactly.
Yeah, so it's definitely clear but muddied, I guess, if you could say that.
No. Either way, we're getting clarity whether it's a win or a loss. So I
Yeah.
think that's good. Um,
Yeah.
the other
Oregon had
game,
played themselves kind of potentially into a
yeah,
spot there. They were 8-1, on the fringe of thinking maybe they could get into the college football playoff, but
right.
that went down the toilet.
So sneakily, Dave, North Carolina has a
Yeah.
shot to make the playoff with only one loss. They prevail against Wake Forest 36-34. They're number 15 last week. I haven't seen this week's rankings yet. I'm sure they're out or about to be out. But all of a sudden that ACC slot is open with Clemson's loss
Mm.
last week. It's just interesting that North Carolina, a team we haven't really talked about all season,
No.
all of a sudden is right in the mix now. They got Georgia Tech, NC State, and then they have to play Clemson. So both NC State and Clemson are ranked and definitely going to give them a tough time going forward here. But this playoff picture just continues to become clearer and clearer every day. The only other game I wanted to hit on really in the top 25 is Notre Dame beats Navy 35-32. And Navy really put up a big fight for Navy to score that many points
Yeah, that
against a
is.
Power 5 team is something, good for them. What were you going
Yep.
to say?
No, I agree with you there. Um, arguably, Mike, that huge stunner is Boston College beating NC State at NC
Yep,
State.
that's true.
This is a BC team that was 2-7 coming in, but gets a touchdown with 14 seconds left in the game to beat NC State. Really, really a stunner from the ACC perspective. Unfortunate for the conference because NC State had been playing well.
Right.
But, there's that. And we won't talk much about this. I was at that Florida State Syracuse game where Syracuse absolutely did not show up, got stomped 38-3, couldn't do anything. When they had runs or passes, they had penalties. Florida State, I think I heard somebody say they only had 2 third downs that they needed to convert in the whole game.
Oh, really?
I mean,
Ouch, babe.
just absolutely demolished my Orange, who now have to go play Wake Forest and then Boston College.
Wake Forest is no picnic, that
No, no
they've
Sam
lost.
Hartman.
Yeah. He's going to give them all that they can handle for sure.
Yeah. Yep. And so they've now lost 4 in a row. Still bowl eligible, obviously, with 6 wins, but they need to win, one of these next 2 games so that they don't go in on a 6-game losing streak and then
No, they definitely want it.
play in a bowl game. But yeah, just awful to watch. And it was unfortunate. I had my kids there. There was a decent crowd, which was really nice. But it just
people sitting on their hands, huh?
Yeah, 45,000, it was a good
Yeah.
crowd. It was just not really much to cheer about at all.
That's too bad.
Yeah.
Overall, still a successful season for Syracuse, and it still can get into a decent bowl game and do double dip Dave and everyone else proud. Games this week coming up: the Illinois Michigan game, 3 versus 21. Should be interesting to see if Illinois can hang with them for a little bit. Michigan should, by all rights, run them right off the field.
Yes.
But Brett Bielema, the coach of Illinois, definitely has been there before. They have a nice running game, but not as good as Michigan's. But still, should be an interesting little matchup. Alabama versus Austin Peay.
Oh,
Dave.
come on. I mean, this is ridiculous. How the heck are they playing? I saw this earlier and I'm like, I don't even understand how they're playing Austin Peay.
No, that should never be on the schedule ever.
No.
Ever.
And certainly not in the middle of November.
A game with potential to be interesting is Georgia and Kentucky.
Yep.
Kentucky certainly has some athletes and Bob's or what's his brother's name? Stoops, the coach there. Either way,
Mike Stoops.
Yeah, he knows what he's doing for sure on the sideline, and they could give Georgia, a challenge. I still think Georgia's, way better. Other than that, just a bunch of blowouts, in my opinion. Oh, Utah and Oregon with the 10:30 kick on Saturday night could be very good. I will not see one play of that game. I will be far, far into dreamland by then.
Yep.
But
let's not forget UCLA USC at 8:00 on Fox.
So essentially, winner of that game has the upper hand in the Pac-12 and the fourth and final playoff spot, in my opinion. You're going to get, the SEC winner, obviously, the Big Ten winner, obviously. I think you're going to get
if Georgia loses, you may get Georgia as well.
Yeah. But then you also have TCU undefeated in the Big 12. So something's going to have to give. You got 5 teams for 4 spots right now.
Mm-hmm.
That, will all become clearer as the weeks, press forward here. But definitely an interesting time in college football. Kind of sad to see there's only a couple of weeks left in the regular season. But
we've got we have some good games coming up, like you said that, and we have Ohio State, Michigan will still be there. We'll still have some of the conference title games should be.
It should be very good. Army
pretty
Navy
decent.
Is always fun, and then the bowl season is great. There's plenty of good college football left, but still,
but it is winding down for sure.
Yeah.
As far as that goes. And I think we are winding down, here at Think Tank Sports with our NFL and college football review from the week that was. We hope you've enjoyed it. Obviously, share your comments with us, reach out, let us know what you think. Good, bad, or indifferent. We welcome all commentary here at Think Tank Sports. And keep an eye out for more content. We'll definitely get Stevie Covers back on and do another lose with us.
Hey, the NBA season's going. We should probably talk about that at some point.
Yep. And we'll get some NBA action going in there. There's certainly a lot of compelling storylines there, but just keep your eyes and ears out for the content because we are getting that stuff out here at Think Tank Sports, where we think and you listen as we strive for 5.